Thank you all for joining us for Season 3 of the Alite Show with John Alite. We're in studio with special guest and one of my very good friends, Lee Rouson, two-time Super Bowl champ. Lee, thanks so much for coming in today.
Well, thank you, brother. Special K. I appreciate you. I appreciate my new friend right here, and I'm excited to have a conversation, a real-life, true, simple conversation.
You know, before we get into any of the real stuff that really brings us together, let's address the elephant in the room. You're two-time Super Bowl champ, Lee Rouson, played for the Giants.
Yeah, bling.
Look at those.
Yeah.
When Lee showed my son those 2 Super Bowl rings, he was a huge fan. I don't care what I could ever do for my son. They're not as great as showing him 2 Super Bowl rings.
Well, when I show them to the youth, when I travel over this country and speak, I go, listen, if you want to bling bling like this, all you got to do is go behind the bling bling to the real bling bling. Then you can bling bling. In other words, you got to go behind what you see to what you can't see. You got to go behind the ice, the diamonds and the gold to what you can't see. That's the blood, sweat, and tears. When I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and ran 5 miles every day in high school. When I did all the requirements of preparing for not just for the game, but for the game of life. You know, they don't show that on ESPN. You know, you may just see the bling bling right here, but you got to go behind what you see to what you can't see so that you can see what's waiting for you. And I tell kids all the time, what's waiting for you? You got to go get it. Don't give up. Let's go.
Well, it's a choice at that point. Wouldn't you agree with that, John?
Yeah, it's a choice, and it's what's in your heart. Is God in your heart or hatred? And you got to make that choice as you're a kid. And you had a similar background as me growing up. You were exposed to the streets real early, very early.
Yes,
I believe you were about 2 or 3 years old at the time.
Yes.
And you witnessed a famous murder. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that and you can discuss it. But what you did also witness at that time is where your life was going to go. You had a vision. And that's really what I want to talk about.
So you grew up in New Jersey.
Yes, I was born in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And immediately my parents moved to East Orange. They were maids, working for this real estate guy. He has a party one night. He calls his servant, my father, Cecil, come up here. He gives all his guests a dictionary. And he says, listen, open your dictionary and go to any word in the dictionary, and my servant Cecil will know the meaning of any word that you would ask him. Our father, he was brilliant like that, and that was one thing he had common with Malcolm X. And I guess he read his story. He knew about when Malcolm had a certain conversion in his life.
His trip to Mecca you're talking about?
No. Before that, when he was in prison, he studied the dictionary. That was one of his books that he studied.
Right.
And that's how he learned the meaning of words. And so this one real estate guy who lived on Long Island was very impressed with my dad. And he said, listen, come and work for me. And I can teach you, a black man, how to be successful in real estate because you have the intelligence.
Well, you're talking in the 60s, right?
Yes.
So race relations in the 60s was a little tough.
Yeah.
And I know East Orange in that particular time, East Orange was for the wealthy of the wealthy.
Yes.
So it wouldn't surprise me that they had quote unquote servants.
Exactly. He was the servant.
Yeah.
And my father's then boss agreed to let our father and mother move to Washington Heights. And they moved to an apartment there, and then they would just travel over to Long Island to work, for the new boss. But that plan was sabotaged because at that time Malcolm X was kicked out of the Nation of Islam, and he formed his own organization called the Afro-American Unity Organization, which my father became one of his bodyguards and confidants. And so that whole real estate thing was nixed. It didn't happen.
Well, your interactions with your father, and I know your father has since passed, and I know his name was Big Roo.
Yeah.
Right? And I know that from Bill Parcells himself. Right. It was Big Roo.
Yeah.
Did he ever talk to you about what type of person Malcolm X was?
Yes.
Was he nice guy, standoffish, intelligent? Give us a little window into what Malcolm X was really like, not the Malcolm X you see up on stage.
When my father shared about his relationship with Malcolm X was that he was going through a transition or transformation in his life. He was recognizing the truth about some things. As far as attempts on his life and his family's life, just different things. Like he would, one time my father said, Malcolm realized that the Nation of Islam wasn't just supported on by Muhammad Speaks, the newspaper, the sales and Bing pies, but they were receiving monies up under the table from the Southern Dixiecrats for them to continue to preach that hate.
You're talking about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the leader of the Nation of Islam, and at this time is when Malcolm X changed his name to Malcolm Shabazz, correct?
Right. Exactly. So
my Muslim friend over here,
yes,
he can attest to this a little bit closer than I am. The Islamic religion, from what I know, is a very peaceful religion.
Well, and I don't mean to cut you off, but people don't really understand that because, again, there's always an agendas, and people have agendas to spread, not us. And this was what we were talking about earlier.
Right.
The everyday person that's out there that's trying to move their life forward doesn't preach hate. They actually preach love, right? They preach togetherness. They preach, just as my father's real name was Muhammad. We're Albanian, and we come from a Muslim background. So people were, surprised to hear me talk about different religions the way I talk about, or when I talk about, I like to talk about race, especially in these days, because people are always trying to divide instead of people trying to be together. And I'm against the way people are always preaching hate instead of preaching positive motivation. And you're a guy that speaks motivation. You're a guy that's God-loving. You're a guy that speaks of success, not excuses why you don't succeed. And this is, one of the biggest things that impressed me when I started looking into you.
Thank you. The night before Malcolm was assassinated, he had a meeting, with his team. He said, "Listen, I've been preaching hate. I've been saying the white man's a blue-eyed devil,
right?
But
I got
now,
brown eyes.
Okay,
I got brown eyes.
All right.
Okay. Just see
But he said, listen, man, I got a different speech now. And he shared what he was going to talk about the next day before he was able to give the speech. And his speech was going to go like this. There's a reason why all of us are here in this room. It doesn't matter whether you're red, yellow, black, or white. It's time for all of us to come together in a certain kind of harmony. But you never read about those words in the history book. Because before he gave that speech, there was a fight in the audience. Everybody was distracted. And he was assassinated.
And you were in that audience for people that don't know.
Yes, I was sitting in my mother's lap. My little sister Sanji was a newborn baby. And I was 2. And that night, Orby Lewis, he was the first African American defensive back at Notre Dame. He was a great running back too, but he was at that time an FBI agent. He had tried to get my father to serve as an informant, to Malcolm X, but my father wouldn't do it, but they were still friends.
Right.
So he comes to my dad that night after Malcolm was assassinated and said, "Listen, Cecil, we know you haven't done anything wrong, but if you don't leave New York City right now, you're going to be investigated. It's no telling what's going to happen to you or to your family." So in that same hour, my father and mother, we borrow my uncle's car who lived in Brooklyn, my Uncle Monroe, and we drive from New York to Greensboro, North Carolina, and that's where I began to grow up.
You actually are a person that has witnessed history, and there's very few people around here that can say that anymore, especially it was 1965 from...
That was 64, yeah.
64. 64. So you've witnessed this history, and that speech that Malcolm X was going to give, how many people have heard that?
I would say over 1 million.
No, the speech that he was going to...
The speech before he probably...
Oh, nobody heard this.
No.
Nobody heard it. When I say over 1 million, for the last 30 years, I've been sharing this in schools in America.
Right.
So that's why I said over 1 million people have heard. I've shared that talk. It's amazing, right? Isn't it amazing?
It's a piece of history. It's no different from me talking to a Holocaust camp survivor because they're dying off. You're 62... Or say 60.
62. He was born the same year as me. He's a Libra life mate.
That's right.
We got a couple of weeks difference.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So these are the stories that need to get out.
Yes.
And one of the takeaways I've always had from Malcolm X is when Malcolm X did go to Mecca, if you read Alex Haley's book, one of the things that he noticed is there was Muslims there from all different colors, their skins, their eyes, and it was more of something that came, and nobody cared about what color you were. They were caring about who you worshipped. and where you were going and what your journey was.
Can you imagine Malcolm X seeing Muslims with blue eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How when he was preaching the hate that he was, how it began to hit him. And he began to realize the truth. See, that's something about any message of truth, right? When you hear the truth, it'll set you free from whatever deception, that you've been caught up into. And that's the beautiful thing about the human journey in the human race, that anytime the truth comes, it may hurt for a minute because the truth hurts, because we know what the truth is doing, right? It's taking out something that's in your mind that don't belong there. So it hurts. But just deal with the pain. Just deal with the hurt. Know that it's the truth taking something away that don't belong in your heart and your mind. And so I imagine that Malcolm went through that.
Well, you think a lot of these talks I do in the inner cities, we talked about, me and you, before we came on the air, is, I go into Brownsville, I go into Camden, I go into the neighborhoods I grew up in, and I talk to kids about don't buy into the political feed of division and hate because of race or religion. And I talk about leaders and people in the community like my friend Titi, who was in Brownsville, that goes out, and we grew up together since we're kids, and he tries to promote success. He doesn't promote division. He talks against anybody that tries to divide us for power. Or I go to Prince Badi, who was a pro fighter, a good friend of mine. I had him on the show. We grew up together. He just recently, he was shot in the chest in Camden from another guy who's a hater. Somebody that, thank God that he survived that shooting. But these guys are positive people that go into these areas, and they speak about, don't cry about the situation we were born into, but make the situation your strength to succeed. And that's what you really do, right? This is what you go out and you're speaking to these kids about, be out there and make success for you. And you use a famous line with me every time you talk about moving the chains.
John, I saw you walking in the studio with that watch. It's pretty sharp.
Thanks. This is Vincero. That's the company that sponsors us. And the glasses.
Oh, that's the website you sent me the other day with the 15% off.
Yeah, when we were going through the website. Yeah. It's sharp, right?
Yeah, it's real sharp. I got to get me one of those.
We are so pumped to introduce some new friends of ours to Vincero Collective.
And if you don't know who Vincero is yet, they're a premium lifestyle brand in San Diego carrying watches, sunglasses, and so much more. And it's perfect for men or women of any style.
Creating exceptionally crafted, ethically made products for today's most ambitious people. Modern pieces that elevate your look and stand the test of time.
Vincero is committed to doing things well or not at all. They believe in consistent commitment. They believe in improvement and make products for those who do too. Known for their process, Vincero designs everything in-house, sources their own materials, produces in small batches, and ships directly to you.
So if you're looking for the perfect accessory to help elevate your style, check out Vincero at our link, www.vincerocollective.com/elite, to see some of my favorite picks.
John, why don't you tell our audience how they can get some of this nice product?
It's 15% off applied on entire order for a limited time offer. We cover all shipping costs. Put in the promo code ELITE. Go to VinceroCollective.com/elite. That's Vincero, VINCERO, collective.com/elite. Can you give these guys a little understanding what you mean by that, moving the chains?
Well, you see that dude in a white and black striped shirt on the football field doing this arm like this. You see that wide receiver, that running back, that quarterback. They may get the first down, and they jump up and they give that sign right there, like move forward. You even see the crazy fans in the stands, the crazy Giants fans, Steelers fans, Cowboy fans, Cheeseheads, whatever. They jumping up. Everybody's into it. And what they're saying, they're going move the chains.
They say it every time. They move the chains down Giant Stadium.
Or move the chain. And in other words, so I have a consulting company called Move Your Chains. And my mission is to help others move toward their goals and overcome the challenges that they face. And that's what football taught me.
Yeah.
Football taught me that it's about moving forward, especially like in a huddle. You only got 25 seconds, right? So you ain't got time to be caught up in your past.
Right.
You ain't got time to worry about the future. Only thing you got time for is to open up the present. This one brother wrote in this book, the past is history, The future is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present. So open it up. So when we learn how to open up the present, it determines a spirit of unity. Just imagine all the ball players in the huddle. Everybody's unique. Everybody's different. Come from different backgrounds, different flavors, different talents and abilities, and everything. But we have one vision. And this is when you see and it's amazing how people celebrate like a Super Bowl champion team, right? Because that season they were the best. Look how many of us celebrate that.
Yeah.
But we don't celebrate that in our own lives. Too many times we're just fans in the stands. Get your behind on the field and start moving the chains.
Yeah.
But that came after years of tough work for you, because I know you had some issues when you went to the University of Colorado.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Oh,
so
yes.
league, you get to full ride to Colorado.
Yes.
All right, ready to play D1 football, trying to move your career, trying to move your chains.
Yes.
And then something happens.
And so this is a part of life for all of us. All of us. It's called the struggle of life. So my struggle began in terms of just looking at a point of reference. 3 days after I signed my name on a contract to go to the University of Colorado, I turned down Southern Cal. They were number one team in the nation then.
Right.
I turned down University of Pitt, North Carolina, all these schools. I was a blue chipper, one of the top 5 running backs in America. And so 3 days after I signed my name on the contract, I'm all happy and fired up. I'm ready to go to 2,000 miles away from home, get my degree in business. I'm going to have a fun college career at Colorado. I'm going to party. I'm going to, all my goals and aspirations. And then on ABC, CBS, and NBC, the headline story reads, the University of Colorado has just been put on probation. So ESPN at that time wasn't a gossip station to where today you would know somebody's under investigation. They didn't even tell us. Right. They let us sign our name on a contract, even though none of us who signed did anything wrong, had anything to do with it. And the owner for the Patriots, he had started an investigation against the new head coach for Colorado, who was the former head coach at the New England Patriots, Chuck Fairbanks. He quit the Patriots in the middle of the playoffs after Darryl Stingley was hit by Jack Tatum.
I don't remember him quitting in the middle of the playoffs.
He quit.
Did, huh?
He quit in the middle. He quit in the middle. He said, "I'm out. I'm tired. All you guys want to do is talk about Darryl Stingley. I'm done." So he quits the Patriots in the middle of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Who does that?
No, right. It's incredible.
Lee's looking at something from a little different perspective. There's a reason you're looking at what head coaches on the football team back in your former life. Is that? Yeah, he's looking at the spread.
Yeah.
So exactly. So he goes. So he says, "I'm gonna get you back." He was on Monday Night Football talking with Howard Cosell about this guy named Victor Kiam, owner of Remington Shavers. He was ticked, brother. He was ticked. And he got him back. So 3 days later, we were put on 3 years probation. So my struggle began. So all the dreams that I had, Heisman Trophy winner, fun college career, get my degree in business, go to the Orange Bowl, none of those dreams came true. But that struggle, it caused me to have to make a choice or a decision. And that was not to give up.
Yeah. I talked to, and he did some events with me in Brownsville. Walter Beecham III. I don't know if you know. He's one of the...
I don't know him, but I know his name.
Yeah, he played for the Cleveland Browns, and what a great... He's 80-something years old. Mm-hmm. One of the first black players around.
Yes.
He couldn't go into dressing rooms, and he discussed this with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about him is the diversity, the division back then that most guys would hate, he was the opposite. The more they hate him, the more he tried to show him love. And when me and him talked together, this guy was an incredible guy. I got his book. I put it up on my sites. And he's just a guy that's like Martin Luther King Jr. These guys, no matter what happens, they got such love in their heart.
Yes.
And they're trying to save lives, not ruin lives.
Right.
So when a guy like yourself or them, and I put you in that category, honestly, and you deserve to be there because you're such a positive guy. I hate listening to negative people. There's a woman that's on the news that I constantly contradict everything she says because she went to Harvard. Joy Reid, and she's teaching kids to hate other kids.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, she's making millions. She's on the news. She went to Harvard. She was privileged. And she's talking about other kids, and yet she's teaching them not to get off the ground if they're born into poverty. And I just can't understand what goes in someone's mind when they're trying to teach negativity instead of positivity. So when I look at individuals like yourself, they're so positive, and all you talk about is moving the chains. And we talk about how do we influence these kids to do the right thing so they end up in jails like I did. And we're trying to give them a positive message. And that message is really to open your heart, open your mind to God, and to say to yourself, I'm always going to be a winner. And the only way to be the winner is to go into those huddles, like you said, and be in the present and move forward, move those chains.
I appreciate that, Brother John. I really, really do, man. And I'm just like really like the best word I can use is fired up right now. Just to be in this conversation. I remember, Brother Kevin, that after I'm gonna go back to Colorado, but let me just go back after my parents were forced to leave New York, and we moved into this all-white neighborhood in Greensboro, North Carolina.
In the South, in the deep South, in the 60s.
Yes.
That had to be rough.
I'm outside playing with my best friend, little 4-year-old white girl. I'm 4 years old now. This is 2 years later. Our father had got a job on the railroad and saved up enough money for us to move into this little bitty house.
Right.
And so I'm playing with her. I take a baby down from her. I got your baby down. And she starts crying. Her mother comes outside and she goes, boy, you go home and don't you ever come over my house again. I was like, why? She said, because you black. I don't want no black boy over my house playing with my daughter. So, boy, you go home, don't you ever come over here again. You hear me? And I was like, well, I'm black and I'm beautiful. Because that's what they were saying.
Yeah, right.
Back in the 60s, I'm black and I'm proud. I'm black and I'm beautiful. That was our affirmation.
Yes.
And so I ran home crying, broke in the house. And then the number one rule in our house was you don't wake up this big old giant man. My father would rest in the daytime on the couch.
Right.
But I didn't care about any house rules. I wanted everybody to know how I felt. So I broke in the house and I was like, when those good cries. And my father wakes up, he goes, what's wrong with you, boy? And so I tell my dad what happened outside. He says, get over here right now. I'm going to tell you a few facts about life. Let me tell you something right now, son. All the white man wants to do is have you in the cotton fields. He just wants you to be a slave, living in the ghetto, being poor, being on drugs, having babies and not being the dad. Do you understand what I'm telling you? And he doesn't want you to be prosperous like he does. Do you understand me? And I looked at my dad, and the thing about my father, and I attribute this to the grace of God, is that my father said, what's your choice? In other words, when he said, just like when Phil Sims was in the huddle, he would call the play, right? And he would say, are you ready? Right. He wanted a response from every heart in that huddle, right? So my father wanted a response from my heart. He said, do you understand what I'm telling you? Because he could have been one of those dads that tell you stuff and dare you to say anything back to him.
Right.
Just, you heard what I said, just do it, be it. But my father said, what's your choice in the matter, son? How do you look at it? I was like, well, Daddy, yes, I understand what you're telling me. White people and black people, they hate each other. And they hate each other because they're afraid of each other. But if they get to know each other and become friends, and they can love one another. Isn't that right, Daddy? And my mother, she was ironing clothes. She dropped the iron. She just started weeping. Come on, pinching my big fat cheek. That's right, hucking, pucking, pookie, poo, poo, poo. That's right, you tell that big old man. My father falls to his knees. He says, son, you're right. You just helped me to remember what I forgot. That day, the choice of a 4-year-old boy changed the life of 2 grown-up people.
Yeah.
And it was because of what was in that 4-year-old's heart at that time. And I've learned myself from that 4-year-old in the times in my life when I've struggled, when I forgot about who I was, when I was trying to be somebody who I'm not, in the struggles of my life. I will look back at that 4-year-old and remember the love that was in my heart, that love that God had invested in me. And he had exponentially grown that investment throughout time. And I just had to remember it. And so that, again, for us to remember and know who we are, or to know and remember who we are truly, is a big thing in the human race. And a lot of us, the identities that we're choosing are so limiting that when we come into situations, we don't know how to handle ourselves because we're going to make choices based on who we are.
I grew up on Jamaica Avenue, right? And this is, everything touches you in a certain way and life's lessons, right? And I grew up with a family that wasn't racist. My father's name, I told you, was Muhammad. My grandfather was Ali. They were Muslim background. And I went to PS 97 elementary school. And I remember when they bust in the first load of black kids coming into our school. And this is in the 60s because we're the same age. So it's 67. And I stay with Kevin Johnson and Timothy Smith. One's a little black kid my size. I'm a little white kid. Timmy's a little bigger than us. Those were my first interactions really with somebody that became my good friends. And then a fight broke out in the schoolyard and over race. And me, Timmy, and Kevin looked at each other. And we were all fighters, as kids too. We used to box. And Kevin was a little more shy, but Timmy was tough. And I didn't talk to Timmy in 50 years. He got in touch with me recently over my talks. He reached over me through the internet. And we talked about how that fight broke out when the three of us stood together and said, if anybody tries to fight us, we're going to fight together. Not against each other, not against anybody of color, but we're staying together.
Wow.
And that later on moved into high school when I went and my catcher was a senior, and Mike Williams. He ends up getting drafted and he went to Texas. And Mike Williams was about 6'2", strong, good-looking black guy. I was a small, little, tiny, skinny kid going into a school, Franklin K. Lane, that was probably about 70% black, maybe 15% Spanish, and the rest was white. So the white kids were scared to go to that school. Mm-hmm. And when I went to that school, I remember again, there was no race. Mike's the one that took me like a little brother and brought me through that school and told everybody he's my friend. And so it only takes one person of kindness to reach out to the next guy is what I'm getting at.
That's right.
And when you have that experience, and my kids have that experience, they're friends also, because I raised my sons the way my father raised me, with no hatred towards color or religion. And when you have somebody, and that's why I say each individual is very important for the next person, because that person, if you reach your hand out to that person and have a good experience, they take that experience to the next level, to the next generation. So when people think it's not important for one of us, it's important for every single one of us.
Yes.
So this doesn't start. I'm a guy that I like Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman made a statement about, he was talking to Wallace on 60 Minutes. And he said, I don't agree with, because it's Black History Month, I'm bringing this up. He said, I don't agree with Black History Month. He said, I don't need a month for me to be proud to be black. He said, I'm proud all year. And he says to Wallace, what are you? He said, well, I'm Jewish. He says, do you want a Jewish month? So I totally agree with him. It doesn't take a month for me to be proud of you as a man, because I'm proud of what you're doing as a man. As a ball player, you were a great ball player, but that's not life. Life is what you do every day with yourself.
That's right.
So that's what's proud of. I talk about Fat Man Scoop a lot, the DJ out of Brooklyn. I don't know if you know him. We're friendly, and he's a positive individual. I said he's a great DJ, won all kinds of, he's got every kind of award and trophy and albums all over. But as a man, he's such a positive individual. And that's what you look at when you're looking at people. And one day we're going to be finished on this earth.
Yes.
Were we positive or negative? The man that discovered BET and he started, I'm against that. I'm against all these shows. And he's a good man, by the way. But the owner of BET, I've heard him speak, and he's really a good man. But I don't like anything that's divided. I think everybody's based on their character, just like Martin Luther King Jr. said. So I don't like the division thing. I just think that if someone's beautiful, they're beautiful. If somebody's well-spoken and he's an intellect, and he should be a CEO of that company. If somebody's a ball player like you and is a great ball player, it'll show with those rings. You don't need anybody to say, well, he's Muslim or he's Catholic or he's white or he's Indian. He's just a person with a good character.
Yeah, that's the human construct,
Yeah.
We construct our identities for all different kind of reasons.
Primary identities.
Yes.
Primary identities. So
Well, we're all proud of. I'm proud to be Albanian. Proud to be a black man. I'm proud to be.
But that's not your primary identity.
No.
So when I speak of primary identity, if I back up a minute, so I have a problem with the word African American. Mm-hmm. You're an American. You're a human. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you're a different flavor. Mm-hmm. But when we start seeing ourselves as a primary identity, as a black man, as an Albanian, versus something higher, I know, Lee, your primary identity is being a child of God. So everything underneath that,
Right.
it can go away and you're not sitting there lost when it disappears. You know, we go back to Malcolm X. His primary identity at one point was to be a black, or the Nation of Islam.
Right.
Islam.
Right.
When that was taken away, he was a little lost and he had to find his way through there until he found his true primary identity.
Right. And a part of my primary identity can be black
Correct.
or African American or chocolate. Okay, however you want to describe a part of the uniqueness that God made me or made all of us. And that's why when I go into schools, when I introduce myself to the kids, I go, look at all the flavor up in here. Look at all the vanilla, the chocolate, and the cappuccino, and the honey, and the butter pecan, and the kids love it. Because I'm not saying, look at all the black people, the white people, the Asian people, the Hispanic people. I'm talking about the flavor, right? And so, again, a part of my primary is my reputation. My name, Lee Rouson. I play pro football. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a minister. Okay, I'm a mentor. Okay, all the roles that we play are part of our primary identity. But what do you make the primary identity? And again, we all, like I tell kids, you're not born winners. You're not born losers. You're born choosers. So you choose who you are. I don't go into a place trying to tell anybody who they are. That's none of my business. That's not my ability. You, out of the 7.8 billion people on the planet, you're the only one that can decide your primary. You know, I think I'm gonna steal that from you, brother.
That's okay. Listen, everything I say,
that.
you can steal.
Thank you. I love you too, Kevin. Yeah,
because I steal tons of stuff from you, so don't worry about it. I steal stuff from.
But you're positive. That's the thing.
Well,
is the positive.
And so let's talk about that for 1 second. That's the word positive. One of my overall passions is to ask people, what is your RMI? So somebody goes, well, what's that? And I go, what is your role model identity?
Yeah.
See, yes, we're all role models, but what kind of role model do you choose to be? Are you a positive one or are you a negative one? You're going to choose one or the other, because when you look at the word attitude, that's how we live our lives. We all have attitude. And you spell the word attitude, ATTITUDE, okay? And you put up under each letter the number in which it fits into that 26 number sequence. A is 1, T is 20, there's 3 T's, okay? I is 9, U is 21, D is 4, and E is 5. And when you put those numbers together, attitude equals 100. So you either have 100% the right attitude, or you have 100% the wrong attitude.
That's incredible, actually.
It's incredible, man. I mean, when you think about it, it's really, because it's our attitudes, it's how we look at it. So when you choose your RMI, when you choose to be a positive role model, opposed to a negative one, okay, to me, that's the great challenge for all of us. Now we know we live in this world. Everybody's not going to choose to be a positive role model, but those of us at this table right here, I know we have. And so, let's keep it going. Let's keep moving the chain.
But you know what? Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You know what's funny? Because we didn't know each other, right? We're talking beforehand, and I'm looking at you as the Super Bowl winner of 2 rings, right? Now, I know you not as the Super Bowl, just what he kind of said.
Right.
It's crazy, because now I know you as the man that is talking the way you're doing, it positive and all the other things, not as the football player. And I know that's your initial,
Yes.
thing. My past is my past. We're always going to have that.
I say about you, John, all
Yeah,
the time.
you said that earlier.
John was working with John Gotti.
Yeah.
Well, that's not John.
That's not who he is now.
That's not who he
No.
is.
And see,
People try to bring that out of me still, and I don't want to be that person.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's why there's a bat on the table, just so you know. That.
And you know what? I'll look at the journey of our life in terms of our primary identity. Like if somebody says, well, who did you used to be? My first identity was Lily. Everybody called me Lily.
Yeah.
Growing up in Greensboro, North Carolina, people still call me now. I go home. Hey, what's up, Lily? I'm still Lily to everybody. But who I am now is a child of God. That's my, now, is Lily still around? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But Lily now serves who I am now. You see, I remember reading in the Bible once, God was talking to this woman, Rebecca, and he said, you're gonna have twins, you're gonna have two sons, Esau
Jacob.
and Jacob, which really stands for Islam and Judaism.
Right.
Those two nations.
One of the literal translation, I'm sorry, this is one of those pieces of worthless knowledge that I have. Esau is Hebrew for hairy, and Jacob is deceiver.
Yes, and excuse me, I think I was incorrect there. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it was Esau and Jacob, but I'm thinking about Ishmael. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Ishmael and Abraham and Isaac. I'm sorry. That's Islam and Jews. I'm sorry. Please
You just gave me a chance to showcase my biblical knowledge. So
there you go.
It's all good.
I was testing you right there. There you go. But my point is that the Lord told Rebecca the older is going to serve the younger.
Yeah.
I remember that word throughout my life as of late, because the older Lily is serving the younger Christ that's in my heart, that's in my mind. And it's amazing because our old self is always there. Like you said, people try to bring out of, again, we in this human suit. But if you believe that the Lord says one day you're going to have a glorious body divine, we're not going to be in this suit, this tent forever. Yeah. We're going to have a glorious body divine one day. Now, I know everybody doesn't believe that. But in terms of our identity, I believe it. I listen, knowing that the energy, the spirit that's in me, knowing is who I am right now, because I wasn't always that way.
Well, the primary identity is something that
I wasn't always that way.
It's unchangeable. For those who are listening, what we're talking about, I think, is primary identity is something that never ever changes. So if you're not a religious person, that's your choice. You're a child of choice, right? So if you have something in your life that's unchangeable, I'm a father, I'm a husband, something that never is going to change in your mind, versus this tribal attitude that we have, and it's a divisive thing, where they start to slap labels on people because they want to bring them over to their tribe, rather than seeing that there's, we're not part of a tribe. Yeah. We're all part of one.
If you don't come over to my tribe, we're gonna have this war.
That's right.
We're gonna start bombing you. We're gonna threaten you. We're gonna go to war because we can't control you, manipulate you. So we're just gonna take you out. And it's just simple. This is the same old thing that's been going on in the human race. People want to control other people. And I mean that's what's going on right now.
Right now, yeah.
With the even as something as minuscule as this new lawsuit that's coming out in the NFL, because you were involved in a lawsuit in the early 90s, correct?
Late 80s, early 90s. In 89, I became a plaintiff in a court case for free agency.
Because they were trying to control you.
Yes, we weren't even trying to get free agency. Now at this point, we had decertified from the union because we had a strike in 87. We won the Super Bowl 86, 87. Then that next season, fall 87 season.
It seems like yesterday.
I know it does, right? It's like a blink, brother.
Yeah, like a blink.
I'm telling you. So we were so.
I was a freshman in high school, just for both of you two old guys.
That's all right. You can get old. You can get there one day. So we struck. We came back, but when we came back, we decertified from the union.
Right.
Because at that point, without a collective bargaining agreement, the NFL draft was illegal according to the antitrust laws in America. So then at that point, we were able to pursue the lawsuit. Now, what we were asking for were better benefits. We weren't asking for free agency.
Yeah.
And the NFL just said, we're not going to give it to you. We're not going to, they've been fighting. The USFL had came in the early 80s.
It's coming back this year, by the way.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And threatened the NFL. They had a lot of the ball players, were playing in the USFL. I think that ticked the NFL off, know. And so then also the USFL went down.
And then when
then
Kurt Warner started, right? I think
Doug Flutie, Herschel Walker.
And Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly, he was with Houston Gamblers, all those guys.
What was it? Herschel Walker.
I love Herschel Walker. I think he's a good man.
New Jersey Generals.
They had most of the guys. They had the quarterback for San Francisco,
Steve Young? Steve Young?
They had
Was
a
Steve
lot of
Young there
kids.
too?
Yeah, they had a lot of guys in the USFL, and so so when again from that point on, when we after the decertification, and we started a lawsuit, Gene Upshaw, you guys remember that name?
Yeah,
Sure, of course.
He was the head of the NFL Players Association.
Yeah.
He calls me on the phone. Right, I'm living right in Flanders, New Jersey. He says, "Listen, Lee, we want you to consider, becoming a plaintiff in this court case. Now, nobody knows your name. Nobody knows Lee Rouson. So we would call it a Lee Rouson case because you got the strongest case. You're going to win. You're going to win. They're protecting 30 ball players every year, and the rest are free agents to, to play for, go and play for who they want to. The Giants have protected you, and you can't renegotiate a contract, no nothing. When you want to renegotiate, they go, well, what have you done? We're not going to do it. No, we're not going to give you anything. So my case was strong. I had a strong case. They said we're going to call it the Freeman McNeil case. Freeman, who played for the Jets, because Freeman, he's one of the most highest paid guys. His owner, Hess, has been paying them good money. Over $1 million a year.
And by the way, I was a bookmaker back when you won the Super Bowl. So I don't know who didn't know your name, but I certainly knew your name.
Okay. Well, because that was because we threw the ball to me on third down.
I think, yeah. You actually played a big part in that game.
See?
Yeah.
Broke most all-purpose yards ever in the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
For special teams, your special teams yards? I know
special teams and catching the ball at the backfield.
Right? You had a big catch.
A big catch.
Yeah.
That's a great memory, bro.
See that?
Wow.
Well, I had 50,000 back in those days on the game just without the reverses and everything.
You tend to remember those things. Hey, but watch this. John, what'd you have for breakfast this morning? See that? He can't remember.
So really, you owe me a ton of money.
No problem, brother. So Freeman says, I'll put my name on this case. I don't care if I don't win. I'm not doing it for the money.
Yeah. I'm
doing it because every man and woman in America should be able to work for whomever he or she, decides to work for. That's just the law, this country. And Freeman did not win. Yeah. I won with 3 other guys. And the whole system in the NFL changed to what it is right now. And so I did, I did make history there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, when I look back at my life, I've been a part of making history. Again, being with Malcolm X, I was the first African American to make a Pop Warner team in Greensboro, North Carolina.
To do what?
To make a Pop Warner football team.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I was 10 years old, and I never forget the change that took place in Greensboro, North Carolina, because I was the only black kid that made the team. And then my father that night, now imagine all the other black kids, because I was a ringleader. I got all the parents to agree to take the ball players to practice if we made this team. Now the Part 1 team was not in our neighborhood. Right. Because remember I told you we moved into an all-white neighborhood?
Yeah.
Well, they moved to another neighborhood. So at that point, the Part 1 team was in a white neighborhood, but I was a ringleader. I could sell. I could sell. Yeah. So I had all my boys convince their parents to commit to taking us to practice every day in the white neighborhood, which is miles away from where we lived. Yeah. And so on cut day, every white kid that made the team, the coach says, "Well, we got one more ball player who's gonna make the team, Cecil Lee Rouson III." That was the first time I ever realized or sensed in my consciousness that I was black. Yeah. Because when I walked away from all the black kids whom were all my friends to my new teammates who were all white, that was the first time I remember feeling that, experiencing that, as a young kid like that. Yeah. And that night my father comes into my bedroom, he goes, "They cut your sister from the cheerleading team because she's black. That ain't right. I'm gonna give you 3 days to make a decision. Either you're gonna play for the team around here, or you can play for the team that just picked you. I'm not gonna raise any males in my house. I'm gonna raise men, so I'm gonna let you make your own choice." And I started crying. 3 days went by. My father comes home from work. "What's your choice, son?" I said, "Daddy, it's the hardest decision I've ever made in my whole life. I'm just 10 years old, right?" And I go, what's going on? What's going on between you grown-up people? Us little kids, we didn't start. Yeah. But if I quit right now, nothing's going to change in America. And my father, he didn't expect me to say it like that, right? He didn't even know what to say at first, and then he goes, "Well, I'm not going to come and see you play on Saturdays." And I just let it out, but I stuck to my guns. I didn't change my mind. I dealt with the struggle. I dealt with the fact that my father's not going to come to see me play. And he came to see my last game because my sister, what he would do, my sister was cut from cheerleading team, he would take her to have breakfast. They would spend time together with my mother and all my aunts. Everybody would come to see me play. Everybody would come because I was the phenom. I was the show. And everybody would come to see me play. My father, I knew he wanted to come and see me bad. He finally came to the last game. Then when we had the banquet, the head coach says, "Lee, come up here." Everybody knows Lee is the MVP of the team. But because of a choice that he made, next year we're going to have the same amount of black kids on the team and black girls on the cheerleading team because of a choice that he made. So things changed in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1972.
Somebody has to step up and put themselves in an uncomfortable situation to make it a comfortable situation. When I was in prison, I tell people prison's very racist and it's geographic. So when you go to a prison, you have the Philly guys staying with the Philly guys, the New York guys staying with the New York guys, whether they're white, black, Italian, doesn't matter, they stay with each other. But my friend was a guy named Daryl Johnson. We used to call him Butch. He was from Philly. Me and him were best friends. Big guy. And in the chow hall, Spanish go eat over there, the white guys eat over here, the black guys eat over here. But me and Butch were always together, so I crossed that line and I ate in the black section. And naturally, you're going to have guys that are going to say something, especially in prison.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a little more dangerous.
Ooh.
And we both said the same thing. And then he would come once in a while in the white section. And it's not done, especially when you get into the medium highs in the penitentiaries, because it's a little more dangerous when you do it. But we did it. And I always tell everybody the same thing. I go, listen, I don't care what anybody else does. I know what I want to do. Like, I know that when I look at a human being, I really don't care what anybody else thinks. If I like you and you got a good character and you're good to me, that's all I care about. There's nothing else. And I think as we keep doing it, people are going to do it and follow. And I think at this time in 2022, when people are talking about like it's 1960s when we first grew up, it's nowhere near that. I says, and for the people that want to stay back in those days in their mindset, we got to keep changing that.
That's right, brother.
And I think the other thing is, and having fathers like, and you speak very highly of your father, and I know that's very important for any kid from any background to have a father figure. I'm thinking, like, if I was a kid and you were talking to me, how would that influence and maybe change the way I grew up? And that's the important thing of what you're doing.
Yes. What you're looking at is talent and experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So your talent got you on that football team, and it changed everything afterwards. Your talent got you in the NFL lawsuit, which changed things afterwards. Your experience in growing up in the mess hall really affected other people and maybe changed a little bit.
It was my mother and father growing up in an era, because they're born in the 30s. But my father was an open-minded guy. He was a street guy, gambling. He wasn't a gangster, but he stayed with gangsters.
Right.
But their best friends were Trinidadian and black growing up. So,
that was handed down to you.
That was handed down to me. It was handed down to my sons, handed down to my daughter, where we think, we just think normal from an intelligent standpoint. Why are you judging anybody for any aspect there? First, I don't like to be judged myself, so I don't like judging anybody.
Exactly.
I don't care what anybody is. They're a good person or a good person, but it's so important. It's the same thing, having good family values, fathers, mothers that are there that support you, because your father was a strong figure in your life, obviously.
He was.
And what he passed on to you, you're passing on to the world, which is way bigger than a football game or rings that people said, just what you said.
That's right.
But you're saying those rings, that's a great adrenaline part of your life, but that's not life.
That's right.
But it's how you're moving stuff on now.
It's incredible. That's really your story. And I thought it was going to be about football, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I didn't think we were going to go here.
But John, this is what you're doing too.
Yeah.
You understand that. And that's why I wanted to bring you two together, because you both have the same mission now.
Yes.
Your life after your old street life, your life after football is really what brings us together. And, I thank you guys very much for what you're doing, because it means a lot.
Thank you.
But there's something that it teaches me. It
Yes.
teaches me this, that we're sitting down here. I'm a retired cop. You're an ex-football player. You're an ex-gangster. But there's so much more that brings us together than tears us apart.
Yes. And I really believe it's the love of God. I'm not saying the love of religion. I'm saying the love of God. See, the love of God is like the 25-second rule in football. You only got 25 seconds to run the play. So since that's true, that rule constrains everybody that's in the huddle. You got the quarterback, you got the wide receiver, you got the tight end, you got the lineman, you got the running back, you got all these different positions, and everybody comes from different parts of life. They have different kind of abilities and talents and everything like that. But what brings everybody together? What constrains the focus and the purpose of everybody in that huddle? The 25-second clock. You only got 25 seconds to run the play. You can't get caught up in the last play. You can't get caught up in what's going to happen the next play. Like I said earlier, you only have time to open up the present, to run the play right now. So there is a spirit of this is the one thing, brothers, that I miss from the NFL. It's the only thing I miss. I don't miss making the money. I don't miss hitting somebody and not going to jail. Okay. But I miss this what I'm talking about right now. That 25-second clock determines a unity that is so powerful. It's not about one person in that huddle. It's not about you, Lee Rouson. It's about the vision that everybody shares. And it's about doing your job, whatever a talent and ability that you have, whatever giftedness, whatever skill. That's what it's about. And so that's why I feel Sims, my quarterback, I remember many times, you would call the play, he would say, flow 36 on 2, flow 36 on 2. Then he would say one more thing. He would go, are you ready? See, there was a call, right? And then there was a response of the mind and the heart. I will never forget the call and response. And we have a call right now. All of us. We have a call in the game of life. And there's a response too. Are you ready? And so today, that's why, like I use the term, I'm fired up, because I feel like we've been in a huddle. And some of the things that we've talked about today is we're just reminding ourselves about the call. When Phil Simms called the play in the huddle, everybody knew 436. We practiced it in training camp. We practiced it that week before. We knew now it's game day. Now we're going to break out this huddle. We're going to break out this conversation. And are we going to be ready?
We got to be ready now, because they're trying to change the world.
Come on, brother.
And
I'm telling you.
And where it's going, it's not in the right direction.
That's right.
And there's too many people that want it in the right direction.
That's right.
So it's all our responsibilities to keep it in the right direction.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
So I'm ready. You're
there
ready.
You go. That's it. Let's go.
We got to just make the next guy ready.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
Lee, we appreciate you so much. I just love talking to you. You make me leave a room feeling so much more positive than when I entered it. John, I told you this guy's something
Yeah,
special.
it was great to have you. I'd love to have you back. And if we can get involved in anything that you're doing, I'd love to help and be involved with you in whatever you need.
Thank you, brother.
And, anybody that wants to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you if they're looking to get in touch with you somehow for anything with anything you're involved with streets, with kids?
Well, yes, I'm doing mentoring programs in schools right now. So it's and my company is called Move Your Chains.
Okay.
So I guess.
How do we get out there? You got a website?
I'm putting together the website right now. I'm just revamping it. I'm revamping it because I was going a different direction. I just went in this direction for the last few months.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, they can get through my website, which is johnelite.com. They get in touch with me. Kevin, on my website is informative of anything that they need. Besides, obviously, we have the baseball bats, we got books, we have photos, we have cigars, and we're involved in different lectures in different areas, and it'll give the calendar. Anybody that needs to get in touch with you, they can get in touch with us, and we can get in touch with you until your website's up.
Thank you.
And,
Thank you,
you know,
brother.
We got to give a good shout out to Belladonna Cigars. She's actually developing your own brand right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something nice.
Awesome.
Lee, great time today. I really there's some key points that I want to touch on. Number one, add up the word attitude.
Yeah.
Equals 100%.
That's great.
Isn't that great? I'm stealing that
Well,
one.
you got it, brother.
Yeah.
I'm stealing that one. And just so
Yeah.
you know, Primary Identity was mine. It was my good friend Adam Bird who
Oh, I
played.
like that, though.
He played
I'm still that.
pro hockey for the Flyers. I'll
Okay.
never say he played for another team, but he played for the Flyers. But let's go. Look, let's move the chains in our life. Always keep moving forward.
Yes.
And also, it's really important that there's more that brings us together than tears us apart.
I got a new series coming out. Nordic Narcos should be out, I believe, in April. About Klaus Malkowitz's life story with me, a good friend of mine from Denmark. So look out for that. And we have a new guest, Lee Whitley, coming on about cancer and cures that he has developed. And look out for that also. It's very interesting about the health of people that need the help.
Well, thank you very much for joining us for this episode of the Elite Show. Look forward to further episodes coming your way.
Born in New York City.